and then you count the number of the ones with X mark and without X mark. So see that out of these 100 ants, you found out that 20 ants had the X mark and the other rest 80 did not have it, right? And then you repeat this process over and over again until you have enough data, and you take the average, and from these information you find the entire population here. And that's another, I guess, use of statistics. But here what I'm trying to say is we use samples a lot. In statistics, it's virtually impossible to use population here. Population is really hard to get, right? That's why we use samples in order to estimate and in order to make a conclusion about population, and that's our ultimate goal in statistics. So again, going back to the definitions, population is entire collection of units. So everything that you're interested in. And sample is just a subset of a population, right? So sample is here one portion of the population. So those are the two um, definitions that you have to know. Alright, so let's see. So those are the definitions that you have to know. Now, we're going to try something new. Where is my, oh, sorry. So, now what we're going to do is we're going to use Excel. No, before we do that, why don't we just go over some definitions? Some, not definitions, but some math concepts. No, I'm sorry. Before we do that, we're going to learn about this other important topic, and that is randomness. Okay, so whenever we're choosing a sample, you have to be very careful because there might be a bias. Bias meaning you are either skewed to one side or the other. So let's just give you an example. I'll just give you an example. Scroll down a little. Okay, so going back to the election example, right? Election. As we said before, we have candidate A and B, right? And say that we asked 100 people again. So this is the sample, right? And what will be the population? Population will be the entire group of people. So let's say if we're doing president, no, that's not how you spell it. Presidential election in Tanzania. Okay, so we're looking at presidential election in Tanzania, and we have two candidates, candidate A and B, right? So population of the entire group of people in Tanzania, right? And sample. And here comes the problem. Say if we ask 100 people, but if you only ask 100 people from UAUT, let's just assume that we ask 100 people from UAUT, what might this cause? Do you see any problem with it? Yeah, I want you to think about this very carefully, because selecting a sample just from UAUT does not represent the population correctly. So say a candidate A has a platform or a promise that if he gets elected, he will reduce the tuition, right? And just thinking about this is beneficial to students, right? College students who are paying their tuition. So they might support candidate A just because they're in school and this guy promised that he will lower the tuition. And we call this bias, right? This is not a fair representation of the whole population, because we have other people who are not in school that might support B, but from this sample, right, from the 100 people, 100 students from UAUT, they support 99% of them support candidate A just because he promised to lower the tuition, correct? So same thing, right? If we asked another group of people, like 100 people, but this time, say we asked only guys, right? There might be something about this too. So guys might, and I'm saying might because it's not always the case, but they might support candidate A because candidate they guys tend to be more conservative, and this guy has a conservative view. See, that's why there are a lot of problems with it. If you select a group of people from one place or one background. So here comes the importance of randomness. Just highlight this. Randomness. Okay? Randomness is very important. So whenever this is very important, whenever you're selecting, so when selecting a sample, and sample by sample I mean like people or thus objects, meaning who are being surveyed, you have to pick randomly. Right? So you have to choose your sample randomly, not in a systematic way where you pick 100 people from one place or pick 100 people with one background. It has to be random, and to be honest, it's impossible. It's impossible to be 100% random. You might say that it might cause some problems, but you have to be it has to be as random as possible. That's the main concern that we have when selecting a sample. Alright, so that's all the definitions that I want you guys to know, and we will now tackle some statistical tools. So um, okay, let's do this here. I'm pretty sure you've heard of this before, but average. This is the same thing as the mean. Okay, an average is pretty common in class, or um, I guess in class is the most relevant one for you. Whenever you take a test, and if you have multiple tests, right, you can find the average. So, for example, you received a score of 80, 85, and 90, and you're trying to look for your average. Then you would do 80 plus 85 plus 90, and then you would divide this by 1, 2, 3, 3, and that's how you get 85. Correct? Okay, so you received an average of 85, but that does not tell you everything. So let's look at another example. Right, so say that you received a score of 100, 100, and 55. Okay, so if you try to find the average, that's 100 plus 100 plus 55 over 3, right? And that gives you 85 as well, right? And if you look at um, these two sets, these two are very different. For example, the 80, 85, and 90, these are evenly spaced, right? 80 to 85 is only 5 points away, and 85 to 90 is only 5 points away as well. And the lowest score, 80, and the biggest score, it's only 10. But let's look at this. Here you get 100 and another 100, right? So there is no change between these two numbers. And on the third exam, you received a 55. And if you take the difference between that lowest and the highest score, it's 45 compared to 10 over here, right? So what I'm trying to say is that these two are very different. So average doesn't really tell you a lot about the data. I mean, it certainly does tell you where the center is, right? Where the center lies in the set of the data that you have, but it doesn't really say how spread out the data is. And we're gonna learn about this later on. And this is something called a standard deviation or variance, but this we will come back to it hopefully next class. But this, yeah, so that's pretty much what average entails. So average is always like this, always the data, right? Sum of values, right, over the number of data points. So in this case, it was sum of the value would be 80 plus 85 plus 90, and number of the data points meaning 1, 2, 3. We have 3 data points, right? So that's 3. And if you do the calculation, this is the mean or the average. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm not sure if you guys have Excel, Microsoft Excel, but I want you guys to be familiar with it. I know it's only the first class, but we will be using computer programs a lot, especially Excel and SAS. Those are the two programs that we're going to use throughout the month. Excel, let me, in case you're not familiar, this is Excel. This is what it looks like. And this is, I would say, one of the most used program throughout the whole world. It's not just in the US, but it's everywhere, right? Excel is very useful because it has a lot of functions built into it, and we will discuss those functions, and we try to utilize this tool because it's a very efficient tool. It's one of the most powerful tools in math. And also we have SAS, but SAS we will do it later on because it has more statistical knowledge built into it. So unless you know the concept, I don't think it's as useful. So we will definitely use the other program as well. But I just want you to be familiar with this. So I'm just gonna show you around. So this is the home page, and we call this um, these right these boxes here cells. These are the cells, and we have rows. Rows go by A, B, C, the alphabet. I'm sorry, these are the columns. Sorry, columns go by alphabets, right? And these are the rows. The rows go by number, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are the basic concepts. Here we have cut, copy, these basic function. Uh, yeah, the basic ones here, right? And we have font, um, but this is the thing that we will be using a lot. This is the function. Let me just show you, right? It says insert function, and if you look at this, it has a lot of functions in it, right? Sum, average, if, hyperlink, count. These are the functions that are used pretty often. And if you scroll down, they have different functions for different fields. For example, if you go to financial, these are the ones that are used in finance. It calculates interest, it calculates um, duration. These are the ones that are used. And also if you look statistical, that's what we want to use. These are the statistical functions, but I don't think we're going to use a lot of it, but we will definitely use some of it. So for example, this here, this is the standard deviation that I talked about before, just before, right? Standard deviation function is built in here. So you really don't have to do anything but click a button. It will do everything for you. But I do want you to know the concepts behind it. Alright, so frequency and everything, right? And also, these are different tabs, right? If you insert, there are pictures, tables, pivot tables, and everything here. And you can also do a graph here. You can insert a graph. So if you go to the chart, oh, okay, I don't have any data here. It's not letting me to do anything, but here you do have certain functions. Certain graphs that you can use, and these are the page layout, and here are the formulas that you can use. Function, right? You can do sum, logic, text, everything is here. Also data. Here we have sort. This is where you sort out, right? You can do A to Z in order if you have a bunch of data built in, right? And Z to A, or you can do filter. You can only pick out some information that you would like to see. So those are the ones. Review is spelling check, and view is zooming in, and Here is another function, macro. This is very powerful. It automatically calculates. So if you're doing repetitive stuff, you don't have to do anything. You can build a program for it, and then you will do it for you. So that's why Excel is very, very powerful. This is not okay. So we have some time. So why don't we just try to do something with this program? So say let's just try. So say we have exam. Okay, so we're gonna do a test. So right, so say we're building we're inserting data, right? So here we're gonna put exam numbers and we're gonna put scores, right? So see that for exam number 1, right, you received a score of 75, and for exam number 2 you received a score of 55. For exam number 3 you received a score of 100, and for exam number 4 you received a score of I don't know, 80. Okay. Right, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna try to look for the sum and the average. These are the two things that we learned. So why don't we try that first? Let's see. Okay, my computer doesn't want to listen to me, but hold on for a second. Okay, there we go. Right? So here is what you do. You can I'll show you multiple ways to do this. So right. So what you're gonna do here is you can just click this button right here, right? And then it will give you functions. Why don't we just go to most recently used? And if you see this, you see a sum, right? So if you click on that and press OK, and you have to assign numbers, right? We are looking for the sum of these 4 values, so you can just click on this, right, and then drag it down. Why is it not working? Right, so drag it down. So here it says B2 to B5. So B2 means column B and row 2. So this, oh I did it wrong, right? This is B2, and going through B2 to B4. So you have to drag it down like this, right? B2 to B5, that's correct. And then you just press OK, and there you go, you get the number, right? Also, there is another way to do this. If you get used to it, it's easier to just type it in. You just press equal. Whenever you're using a function built in Excel, you have to use equal sign, right? Excel, and then these are the functions built into it. So you just do sum, which means sum. Then you'll see here, you'll see the ones suggested, and these are the built-in functions. And then you can open a parentheses, and it says number 1, right? Number 1 meaning what kind of data you want. Here we're choosing B2 to B5. So if you drag this down, I'm not sure why it's not working. Okay, so B2 to B5. So you see some open parentheses, right? B2, column, B5. And then you can close the parentheses and press enter. And it will give you the same result. Okay, and another way of doing this, of course this is not the most efficient way to do this, but you can just simply equal sign, right? And you can click on the values you want to add, right? So you can click on this one, B2, right? And then you can write down the plus sign from your keyboard. The second number you want is this, right? Again, plus, this, plus, and this, right? And you can just press enter. You will get the same result. Right, so for average, using the same method again, you can press this function button, press it, and you can find the average. Here, click, and then another box comes up, right? And here you have to also drag, so we're starting from B2, this one, to B5. So you drag it down. And then you press OK, and it will give you the average. Alright, so when you're typing it in, you can do equals and type in average, and just to make sure you have the one here, right here. So that means that it is right. And open parentheses, and again, you drag these four numbers, because that's what we're looking for, right? It's four numbers. Close parentheses. So average, open parentheses, B2, right? B2 to B5. Close parentheses, and if you enter, you will get the same answer. So this is just a simple example, right? But we are going to do some more definitely more later on, some abbreviation and everything, and they might involve more calculation. And from there, you will going to find average, sum, whatever. But I will let you know how to use it. This is just expository because I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. I'm sorry if you are, because these are really basic concepts. It's really it's nothing basically, but I want you to be familiar with this. So please look over. If you have the program in your computer, I recommend that you explore and try something new, like press every button and see